driving a problem in New Zealand?
Yep. Alcohol's a problem. So, but we have had some reasonably substantial success in reducing the number of deaths on the road, including those where we think that alcohol has been a factor. So, and that goes down to a fairly substantial campaign that we've run for 25 years.
25 years. So 25 years ago, I assume the situation must be pretty bad back then?
Yeah, so you go back to the 1970s in New Zealand, and we had a very high, for us, very high road toll, the number of deaths and injuries on the road. It was way over 700 for a country with a population of only then 3.84 million. That was a lot. At the time, the enforcement organisations were two: the New Zealand Police, which was a crime organisation, and the government also ran a separate traffic service. In 1992, the two organisations came together, and one of the benefits of that, of course, was to increase the number of traffic officers, because every police officer was given the mission of addressing the road toll. We had a strategy which had a number of component parts. One was addressing drinking and driving, one was speed, one was the behaviour of motorists around intersections, the other was making people wear their seatbelts. Right. And we've just added another one, which is to deal with fatigue, so people who are tired. In relation to drink drive, we began a program of alcohol checkpoints, and it was made lawful for the police to stop someone at random and check them to see whether they've been drinking.
Breath check.
Breath check. So this was not. This was in addition to the police's existing authority to be able to stop someone with cause. So if you saw them weaving, you could stop them and give them a breath test. But we then began a program of running checkpoints. We would shut down a road, and everyone coming along the road was directed through a test. So you would pull up along, be channeled past a police officer who would ask you to state your name and count from 1 to 10, and we would take a sample of your breath. And if you failed that test, you were then taken aside and given the more formal blood or evidential breath test. The law was changed so that the evidential breath test became certain for court purposes over a certain level, so you couldn't contest it and ask to have your blood taken and checked. If you were over a certain level of alcohol in your breath, provided the test was administered properly, you were convicted and punished. We are now up to, I think last year we were over 3 million random checks. We run a very strong advertising campaign about being able, telling the public that they can be tested anywhere, anytime. We invested in a lot of resources, so we've got mobile police stations that go and set themselves up so that we're able to process people who fail the test more speedily, so they don't have to end up being driven back to a police station to be arrested. They can be dealt with at the roadside. We can confiscate the cars of repeat offenders. We can immediately suspend the licence of those who are repeat offenders. And we have specialist teams that do nothing but go out and run these checkpoints. In addition to, so that's a whole big campaign around enforcement of it.
It's a big effort.
Big effort. But over time we saw the number of people that were failing the test drop, and at the time, over the last 25 years, the road toll has dropped. Whereas I said it was up around 700, last year was the best result we've had in something like 60 years. We got down to 280 deaths from all causes in New Zealand. Of those, around about 100 we know have some possible cause alcohol. in addition to that, we have just normal policing, that is looking for people who have been drinking and driving. We have some intelligence actions that we take. So, for example, we have a thing called the last drink survey. If you have been arrested or if you've been caught drinking and driving, we ask you, where did you get your last drink? And generally speaking, people tell us. And we take that information and we tend to find that the places, they tend to be common places. So there are some hotels, some bars that constantly come up. And that gives us a message that the people who work at those bars and who are responsible for them are not doing their job in persuading people, if they've been drinking too much, that they shouldn't drive home, they should get a taxi, they should get someone of their family to come and pick them up.
Right.
We also have a lot of programs around host responsibility where we encourage licensees to make sure that the people who are drinking at their place are eating food, that they're not drinking too fast, that they don't become intoxicated at the hotel, at the bar, and that's associated with a nationwide campaign to try and reduce the impact of alcohol generally, not just drink drive. We have put a lot of effort into all of that, and we think we're showing some results, although trying to measure the impact of the actions that we've taken and these big results which are showing very positively for us. I mean, crime, for example, where we think alcohol is connected, those have been dropping. Our homicide rate is coming down. Our family violence rate is, for the first time last year, it plateaued, because we've been encouraging police officers to make reports. It's been a very big campaign for the police, and our reported incidents of family violence have been skyrocketing over the last 5 years because of that, the effort that the police have put into encouraging people to report to us. Last year was the first time that it didn't increase. And so we think that associated with all of the work around family violence, but also the work around alcohol, we think that's having an impact.
Mm-hmm. I think you have enforced many measures over the past 20, 25 years. So what's the public's reaction to all this?
The public, well, initially it was a very difficult challenge to get people who thought that it was their right to go out to the hotel
and drink
and then drive home. And up until about 1990, that was the accepted culture. And I think you'd find that was at all levels of society and right throughout the country. But because of particularly the advertising campaign, the advertising campaign was targeting young people, so you would find children telling their parents, Mum and Dad, if you drink and drive, you're a bloody idiot, which is a phrase that we borrowed from the Australians, and it became the message associated with the campaign. So we saw a cultural shift in New Zealand from it is socially unacceptable to drink and drive, but recently we're seeing a generation of young people for whom that message is either has been lost or it's been ignored, and we're seeing rising numbers of young people who are prepared to drink and drive. And they come up in our surveys. So most recently there's been a revisitation of the campaign, really targeting young people around their responsibilities with drink and drive and giving them tools and techniques about how to talk to their friends who they think might be about to drink and drive. And that's showing some reasonably positive results at the moment.
I think there's a tug of war going on between authorities and the alcohol and advertising industries as well.
Well, there's an immense amount of money involved in the in the distribution, marketing, supply of alcohol, and so this is going to be a contest, all right. Drinking is very much a place in the sort of social context. It's with sports. It's with the idea of going out and drinking with friends, the idea of going out for a meal and having alcohol. It's very deeply ingrained, and our overall approach up until now has been to make sure that people don't abuse those occasions. You know, it's not the alcohol so much as how we're using the alcohol.
Apart from law enforcement, what's also very important is to change our mindsets. Drinking is fine, but to drink and drive is not okay. We all must keep that in mind as well. See you next week. สวัสดีค่ะ